So today is supposed to be one of the biggest days of the year for both Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment, as Star Wars Outlaws has come out today and the review embargo has been lifted, so the mainstream media and gamers alike are casting their reviews across social media. Unfortunately, this game is being met with largely mixed reception, as we will see on Metacritic and some of the reviews I'm going to go over for this game. But first, I want to say hello to all of you. I'm Dreadroberts. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like, share it, and subscribe if you want to. But we're going to be going over some of these reviews today and some of the gameplay because there are a ton of glitches that players are picking up on. But let's go over this post from Shinobi first. Star Wars Outlaws reviews. The highest score that I've seen for this is 9 from PSX Brazil. We'll see some more of these on Metacritic, but IGN, as you can see right off the bat, has given this game a 7. I would not take this score seriously if you do consider the other games they've given a 7, but this is indicative of the game having many flaws because many reviewers are pointing this out and dropping their scores because of it. But first I want to refer over to Mr. Matty Plays because he's a huge Star Wars fan, as he claims himself, and he says that he reviewed Star Wars Outlaws and he's bummed to say it didn't jive with him as a massive Star Wars fan. Andromeda level motion capture. Wow, that's insane. That's the first thing he says. Andromeda. So Mass Effect Andromeda level motion capture. The game just does not look that good. Constantly forced and frustrating stealth segments without the proper mechanics to support it. Huge missed opportunity with the reputation system that is extremely easy to manipulate. It's probably not even that big of a deal. And he says Nyx is cute and the worlds look pretty solid. But if that's the only thing that he can say that is positive about it while putting it at the very bottom of his negativity, that doesn't sound too good for this game. But this is not what the media is saying. They have varied opinions on this. If you take a look at the Metacritic score itself, it's sitting at a 77. For some people out there who have been in the gaming industry for a while, it is actually surprising to them that this score exists for this game. A lot of people actually believe that this game should have a much lower score based on the fact that it has diminishing returns in its enjoyment. The gameplay has many issues. The stealth gameplay has issues in particular. There are glitches everywhere. The main character is supposedly very uninteresting. The story is very uninteresting, and the game is also very short. The main story specifically, I gotta show you guys that in a minute. It's gonna blow your minds. You won't even believe it. But this is the score that we are dealing with Ubisoft's new title. Gamers Heroes at a 95 says Massive Entertainment created breathtaking environments across the galaxy. I think that's something everybody can agree on. They praise the crap out of this game, while other websites like The Gamer and Eurogamer and IGN are a little bit more forthcoming with their opinions, and it matches a little bit more what gamers are saying. However, I do have my personal thoughts about IGN and other outlets like them, so take it with a grain of salt and let's go over some of these. So The Gamer says that Star Wars has never felt this sprawling and dense before. That's funny because other people are saying that the open world is rather empty and lifeless, but combat, stealth, and exploration are all thoroughly engaging. That's a nuanced opinion. There are other people who do not share that in the mainstream. The criminal underworld is fleshed out, interesting, and unpredictable, but here are the cons, and this should make you laugh. The first one says that KVS is surprisingly one-dimensional and boring. So I guess the girl boss thing did not work out, and this model has been absolutely wasted as a main character from what I'm seeing here. They say the main narrative never gets off the ground. That's something that I was looking at when I was seeing the full playthrough for the main story. It really ends on an anticlimactic note. It's rather crazy. Another con that they say the game has is a distinct lack of polish in some areas is hard to ignore. I'm surprised that they didn't say that there's a lack of diversity like Screen Rant said, but we're going to have to take a look at Screen Rant's review as well. So on their website, Screen Rant, this is at the very bottom, the layout is very similar. Rich and detailed open world, satisfying combat and exploration, plenty of references to wider Star Wars lore, but the cons say there are pacing issues regarding compulsory upgrade missions and some sections feel like they restrict the game's open world. You guys have to understand what kind of gameplay approach this game has. All you have in this game is a pistol, some grenades, and a speeder bike. You can only ride one speeder bike in the entire game. You cannot hijack vehicles. You can't ride any other vehicles. You cannot attack normal NPCs that aren't enemies, so you can't really have a morality system or any kind of scoundrel side story where you're evil or anything like that. So they're saying that this game has too many restrictions and that has hurt the score for this game. But that is so funny because in Black Myth Wukong, they said that it was a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and one of the negatives that they gave that game was that there was a lack of diversity, but there is no lack of diversity here. Maybe that's why they got that extra 0.5 stars, beating Black Myth Wukong's score for some insane nonsensical reason. But let's take a look at another review that Eurogamer posted, and this one I feel is a little bit more fair to gamers. I feel like this is a more realistic approach to reviewing Star Wars Outlaws. They say in their review that it's a stripped back Ubisoft formula that is admirable yet doomed. Many gamers are saying this. They're saying that the game strips away all of the Ubisoft stuff that makes the previous games great in an attempt to make this game different, but in doing so, they've stripped away what made those previous games fun. They've taken away many aspects of Ubisoft previous titles, such as the limitations that I just mentioned, the weapons, the vehicles that you are very limited in using, the lack of interactions with NPCs unless they're merchants or something, the underwhelming story, the character, the very short story actually. And Eurogamer gave this game a 2 out of 5 stars. They say that Star Wars Outlaws by comparison feels like it's blagging it much as K can when regularly caught out by some far more worldly syndicate boss. The result is a series of quite painful comparisons. It lacks the branching, open stealth of an Arkham game, the systemic options of a Dishonored, or the incisive, relentlessly satisfying speed of picking enemies off in Assassin's Creed. So it's not even as fun as previous Assassin's Creed titles. It doesn't even have many of the mechanics that those titles have. It lacks the linear polish and charisma, as they say, of Uncharted, lacks the animation flow to its yellow ledge platforming next to a horizon, or the sheer joy of taking platforming and making it into an actual game in itself, as in Star Wars Jedi, and somewhat nightmarishly for Ubisoft Massive, which couldn't have known about this when committing to it at the time, Outlaws opts to tell a Star Wars heist story in a world after Andor, which has already done so with such sensitivity, humanity, and precision that K & Co.'s cameo-ridden non-event is unfortunately left feeling light years behind. This is a scathing, brutal review of this game, and it puts Ubisoft on notice. Let's take a look at IGN's review, where they call this game good. They gave it a 7. They say that Star Wars Outlaws is a fun intergalactic heist adventure with great exploration. I mean, is it really IGN? Many other people are saying that it's not. However, they do say that it's hindered by simple stealth, repetitive combat, and a few too many bugs at launch. That's something that I see a lot today. The inclusion and diversity of bugs in this game. There are many bugs that players are encountering, but to be honest with you, gamers have been encountering bugs with previous versions of this many times before, especially in playtests in the past that Ubisoft has issued out to gamers. Never should we ever take IGN's reviews to heart, especially when IGN has such a bad habit of giving horrible games good reviews. Do you think that this is the Star Wars Outlaws review? No, this is Skull and Bones. Maybe you didn't see me switch windows, but they gave this game the same score that they gave Ubisoft's newest title. They both got 7s, and they are both games that have stripped the fun mechanics out of the development in order to try and be different, with failing results. These are both Ubisoft games. So it's very telling that they're giving this game a review like this and saying that Skull and Bones is good and this game is good. Every game is good. Sometimes I feel like these people in the media know that we know that they're full of crap, but they just don't care, and they're continuing to do what they do. And it really is a sad existence, if anything. But there are other reviews that are not in the mainstream that I also find particularly interesting. Specifically, Greg Miller's review on Kinda Funny Games. He says Star Wars Outlaws is a 4 out of 10 meh on the Kinda Funny scale, so it's below a 5 out of 10. Heartbreaker for a game I was so excited about. And in this video, Greg Miller and his friends describe exactly what they hated about this game, and they go in on this game. In fact, so many people in this comment section alone are shocked at Greg Miller's response to this game, saying that they're surprised at how brutal these guys on this video were with Star Wars Outlaws. And here is an excerpt from this review in which Greg Miller touches upon one of the biggest problems of this game. So check this out.
I was shocked today by the Metacritic, as I said on Kinda Funny Games Daily. I was really surprised to see the scores this game was putting up from our colleagues and our friends. And of course, art is subjective, and you're going to take away whatever you want to get from it, right? For me, this is such a 4 out of 10 video game. This was such a meh. I was never excited to turn it back on. I was never excited or rewarded to do anything in the game. I feel in the very, 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 very end, me and Barrett were talking, no spoilers, obviously. I yelled at the screen, both in frustration, but both in like, just get it, oh, come on. You know what I mean? But, and it was like literally where it was like, that was my 4th night of playing or whatever. And I was like, oh, wow. That's the first time I felt, 16 hours in, I finally felt something in this video game.
So if you see their scoring system, it's 1 to 10. So you've got 10 being Masterpiece and 1 being Gollum. And Greg Miller gave this game a 4, a med. The first guy in the white shirt, he gave the game a 5. And from what I'm seeing with these 4 dudes is that they all spent a lot of time trashing this game. If you can see in this portion of their video over here, it says the enjoyable parts of the game, because the previous parts they were hating on it, but it says LOL JK, they hate it. So for a long time, they're just trashing on the game. And this is a sentiment that is shared across the space. Believe it or not, Grum says here, even Jason Schreier is saying that this is nuts. Star Wars Outlaws held back review codes until the last minute, leaving reviewers only 6 days to play and post their reviews. So not only are these reviews sometimes scathing and not hitting the satisfying numbers that Ubisoft was hoping for, but Ubisoft was also giving these review codes out far too late. I wonder if it was because they wanted to soften the blow from all of these reviewers. They wanted reviewers to play the game but not get too bored of it too quickly. Unfortunately, that seems to have already happened. The guy in the previous video that we just watched, the one who gave the game a 5, saying mediocre, said that he was having fun at first, but the longer that he played, there were diminishing returns and he was not having as much fun. And I think that's what a lot of players are experiencing when playing Star Wars Outlaws right now. They're having fun initially, they're enjoying themselves, but the longer they played, the more they begin to realize how much of a Ubisoft game this really is and how much of a bare bones project it has turned into now that Ubisoft has stripped away much of what has made their games fun in order to try and make a game like this. Unfortunately, they've gone too far from what gamers are saying, not just in terms of removing fun mechanics that they used to have, but also in terms of not polishing their game enough, not fixing the rendering issues and glitches that many players are experiencing. Here is your $120 Star Wars quadruple A experience. This is from Learning the Law. Manga Lawyer, he says, an army of mid-sized and big YouTubers destroyed their entire reputations for a quick Ubisoft payday defending this mess. You'll never recover from this. So check out some of this gameplay. The main character right here has literally 0 emotions in her face. The motion capture is an absolute failure from what I'm seeing in numerous videos for this. It's really bad. It's just terrible. It's sad. And in classic Ubisoft fashion, it is a far cry from what they were originally advertising. This character has seemingly gotten uglier as time has gone on, although in cutscenes that I've seen from the game are far more cinematic and show this character in a far more positive light. But the gameplay in which she's just running around talking to NPCs, it looks awful. And here is the game-breaking glitch in question, which is far more common in this game than people may realize. Look at what happens in this clip right here. This is from Kami, by the way. This post is absolutely blowing up on social media. Whoa! Look at that! Drags him halfway across the map in the middle of a takedown animation. So she drags him across, gets herself noticed by all of the enemies. This is something that many people are complaining about. The stealth mechanics are just garbage, and there are far too many glitches that people are experiencing while playing this, and this is one of them. Drags an enemy across the map, gets attacked by a bunch of people. You know what's really funny about this? Other players have experienced this same type of game-breaking glitch as well, and sometimes in the same exact spot. So this person responded saying, this is a canon event, same world event, same location. Anyway, only one time in my 30-hour playthrough. Yep, same thing happens. Knocks a dude out and starts dragging him across the map instantaneously, getting himself noticed by everybody. It's the same thing. The game is broken. People are making fun of it on social media. In fact, the negative backlash on this game-breaking glitch, as well as others, has become so bad that that Park Place has updated their own lists of discovered glitches in Star Wars Outlaws. It says new ridiculously bad bug discovered in Ubisoft's upcoming Star Wars Outlaws, and they go over the game-breaking glitches that are making the rounds on X. And then they go over some of the previous glitches that people have encountered in previous playtests from Ubisoft. So check this one out.
As such, the blaster battles felt like they had meaningful stakes, and the stealth gameplay had a bit of weight to it because I knew that I'd be up against it.
Yeah, that was the gameplay in which the AI enemies were not responding at all to the main character doing things in the game. They were just standing around watching her while IGN was praising the combat. And then, of course, they make reference to the other glitch in which the enemy NPC stormtroopers are just shooting a wall randomly in front of the main character, not even aiming at her or anything. But it's not just the glitches that are disappointing so many people. It's also some of the biggest features that Ubisoft was advertising for this game. Most especially space travel and space combat, which a lot of people are saying is very uninteresting, very boring, and sometimes even pointless, with a very limited exploration window and a loading screen that looks like you're flying through the atmosphere to land on a planet. So you have this limited space here that you can travel around in, like a little box. Wow. So breathtaking, so spectacular, that loading screen of you going through a foggy atmosphere. This is a $120 video game? That's surprising, actually. Pirate Nation says Star Wars Outlaws drops to 20 to 30 frames per second on a 4090 in Ultra HD with DLSS enabled. What a poorly optimized piece of trash. Do you have any idea how expensive a 4090 is? And you still cannot hit the 60 frames per second mark on this game. 30 frames per second on PC on a 4090. That's like a top dollar video graphics card right now. And they're seeing frame rate drops. Now, I can criticize other games like Black Myth Wukong for having technical limitations here and there, but the fact that you can't even play this game at its full potential on one of the best graphic cards in existence is mind-blowing. It really is. It's disappointing. But you want to know what the really disappointing thing is? The main story is only about 6.5 hours long, I suppose, if you rush through it and ignore the rest of the game. Somebody has uploaded the entire playthrough of the main story from Star Wars Outlaws onto Rumble. This person's name was TrutherBot Joker, and he beat the game in 6.5 hours. And again, it ends on a very anticlimactic note. If you don't want to be spoiled, I'm not going to show any of the gameplay here. But I saw what this game has to offer, and right now it is offering players a $120 6.5 hour main story experience with a bunch of side quests that are repetitive fetch quests. That is something that Greg Miller said that he was sick and tired of, with repetitive and restrictive gameplay, both in terms of cover-based shooting combat, as well as traveling across the world on a simple speeder bike. You can't even do anything else. You can't attack any NPCs that aren't enemies. You can't do any of these other things. The game has stripped itself of so many potential features that previous games have had that make it a far worse title than previous titles, and way more unjustified in terms of pricing. This is the year 2024. We should be way past what the limitations for Ubisoft games were. We should be at the point where we're communicating with NPCs, where we can attack NPCs at random and at will, and have morality systems in which the world reacts to our choices. I feel like that should be a thing in 2024, and a few games out there have actually achieved this. But with Ubisoft pushing so many crappy titles in such a short amount of time, and with Assassin's Creed Shadows around the corner, I think that faith in Ubisoft's quality is dropping. After all, their stocks are also dropping, which is something that people often ignore. But this is what we have to look forward to. It doesn't matter how many big-time streamers stream this game on Twitch. This game is proof that Ubisoft has lost its touch. When I refresh it, it goes from 83,000 to 78,000. I believe it was at 115,000 people watching earlier, and that was with Lyric streaming the game. But once he dipped, I mean, that number dropped all the way back down to 80-something thousand, and it's dropping again because these big-time streamers are ending their streams, and the hype for this game will likely die out over time. If so many people that already reviewed this game say that the game has diminishing returns, I expect that there are going to be diminishing returns on Twitch as well. And once we get sales numbers for this game after the early release is over and we've got an official release window for people to experience this, I feel like we'll have a better understanding of where this game stands among the greatest of titles in 2024, including Black Myth Wukong, which I feel is a game that no other game this year is going to be able to match. But I suppose we will find out in time, as this is all I've got for you guys in this video today. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't had the chance to like it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.